And we are back, folks, with another edition of the Recruiting Insider. This is where we go in depth and inside what makes these student athletes go. We go behind the uniform like no other, especially when they come on set. And we are glad to have another one of the top prospects in the entire country. And this young man puts the student and student athlete, one of the best on the field and off it, going over to Bergen Catholic, talking to Mr. Jordan Thomas. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
All right, so we can lead off like we do with a lot of other players, talking about how great they are on the field. And we're going to get into that.
Right.
I promise you, because we know you get down. But because you get down so well in the classroom too, I want to start off there, because when I talked to your agent, the first thing he mentioned to me, he said, you know, this young man has never gotten a B in his life. And now I've heard something like that before, but it stands out so much more because you go to Bergen. And I know what kind of academic institution that is. So let's start off there. And with me asking you, was that hyperbole, or was he shooting me the real when he says that you have never gotten a B before?
Okay, so I've gotten a B on a quiz before, but I haven't gotten a B on a grade before.
Okay.
I've had all A's throughout my entire career in high school. You know, freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. We do trimesters, so it's 3 marking periods each year. So I have 3 principals lists, which is the highest academic award that you could get at Bergen Catholic. So I have 3 principals lists freshman year, sophomore year, and we just finished our first trimester this year, so I have a total of 7.
Hey, my grandmother used to say it's not bragging if it's true. That's right.
Amen,
I hear you.
amen.
I hear you. Amen. That is outstanding.
Thank you.
And to be commended and held up first, which is why I mentioned it first. I should have started off by saying welcome. Glad to have you here.
Glad to
But
be
that's
here.
such an impressive feat that I felt like we needed to lead off with that. So congratulations, young man. Keep up the great work.
I appreciate that.
Now, let's talk more about what kind of athlete you are, how you've come up in the game as one of the top prospects in the country. And man, you know, to rise to the fore at a school like the one you're at is no small feat as well. So let's start at the beginning. I mean, did you enter high school as one of the top prospects in North Jersey? I mean, how did it all start for you?
Okay, so it started, you know, in 8th grade. You know, I came from a really good youth team. I played for Brick City Lions. It was like a national youth team. You know, I wasn't really known, but going into high school, I came with a chip on my shoulder because people said I couldn't be as good as I was at Bergen. They said I wouldn't play. They said I wouldn't be able to compete. But that chip on my shoulder just stayed with me, and that made me work harder. That made me work harder on the football field, in the classroom, and I just wanted to be the best at everything. I wanted to prove myself right.
Okay, so it wasn't like for a lot of dudes who step in and everyone already knows you, but you got there and it seemed like you made it clear really quickly. All right, now you know about me, right? So you get there freshman year. Did it happen like early in your freshman year? You go to varsity? How did it take me through that?
So I played my freshman year of high school, and I dominated on all aspects of the game. You know, I was really a wide receiver my freshman year, and I had head taps. You know, I was just shocking the world with that. And then from freshman year, after my freshman year season, it kind of like took off from there. You know, I had 11 offers as a freshman, you know, after my freshman year of high school, and it was just a blessing. And I'm just very honored to be in this position now.
Yeah, so I know from talking to your agent Latish that, you know, you come from athletes. You know, mom and dad both college athletes, right? So that part, it feels like was destined to come. But you work for it too. So you definitely, like, you know, talking about it and talking about you were grinding for it. So now you rise up to varsity, and then sophomore year, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, it just hit. It hit hard, and now everyone in the country sees you as like the number one corner on the board. And so take me into that. Once everyone starts to see you, Now it's like, now you're here and the spotlight is on you and the pressure gets a little different. What was that like?
So, going into my sophomore year, I could play wide receiver and defensive back, but my head coach, he needed me more in the defensive area, so I said, okay, let me step up to the challenge. And it was really new for me, just perfecting the craft like that. But going out there, like, I believed in my ability, and I'm a versatile athlete. So when I went out there, I dominated on all aspects of the game defensively, and it was just a blessing. It was a blessing, and to be able to help my team, lead my team to its second, state championship in a row at the time, it was just an honor.
So let's get into your game, Jordan, your game and influences. If you are a coach or a scout in the stands, you're watching Jordan Thomas on the field, who would you compare yourself to? Is there a player in college or the pros that you would compare yourself to or you try to emulate?
I could compare myself to Will Johnson, Jabril Peppers.
Okay.
I see myself as a game changer, a versatile athlete with position flexibility, just a game changer in general.
I know those two guys really, really well. Covered Jabril in high school.
He's from Jersey.
Yeah, I know. Went to see him in high school, going back to his junior year. When I started to go see him in high school, I've known Will since he was in middle school.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Know him real. And what reminds me of him with you is he is a very cerebral player, and people get it twisted. They think he's just a smart guy. And then they get on the field and realize he's a superior athlete too.
Absolutely.
So he'll outthink you, and then he'll beat you by freaking you with his athleticism too.
That's another thing that separates me from most athletes is that I play with intelligence. I just don't go on the field because it's something that you rep over. I watch film, study it, and I just use my IQ on the field so I could, analyze what type of routes they're doing, the route combinations, the route concepts, and it helps me become a better teammate for my teammates so I could, educate them on what's going on, communicate them on the play, like what's about to happen, and it just helps me overall.
So I'm curious, man, had you watched Will, or had someone kind of told you about him to kind of say, hey, man, you're a lot like him? Like, how did you make that connection?
Somebody told me about him. And said, oh, you guys have the same type of body, and you guys kind of play the same. So I studied his game, and he's having pick sixes and just the best cornerback in college football. So I kind of want to resemble my game after him. Yeah,
man. Cerebral came to college with pro tendencies, studies film like a pro. Just that dude. Pick sixes it leads to, I think, in Michigan history.
Game changer.
In pick sixes. So, but back to you. So now you look at you start getting all that attention as a sophomore. And like I said, once you get the spotlight, now there's pressure. Now there's expectation. People are looking at you like, oh, you that. Now they're coming after you. Now it's like, oh, you that guy? All right, let's see you be that guy.
Right.
Once the bullseye is on you, what was that like for you, with everyone kind of gunning for you, so to speak? Was that pressure? Was that difficult for you? How did you kind of deal with that once the spotlight was on you?
It's never pressure when you keep the main thing, which I believe to be God. Once you focus on God and you believe that God is the one that's guiding your steps in this life, then it's no pressure. It's what you do every day. You wake up, go through a whole day of school, of practice, of homework, but you just take one step at a time, and it's what I do. It's no pressure.
So how big is your faith in your entire process? I'm talking about getting into recruiting now.
Right.
How much is that going to help guide what you do, where you go, what the outcome is going to be at the end?
Well, like I said, I trust in God in all things in my life, and I just want to continue to trust in His guidance over my life, and that plays a big role, and it plays a big factor in what I look for in a school. I want a school to be faith-based, a family. And that F stands for faith. So I want it to be, somewhere where I could develop not only in football, but academically as well, as a man, and in my faith, you know, in all aspects of life. So that faith part is like really big to me, and I'm just gonna continue to trust God and pray about my decision with my family.
So faith sounds like it's going to be at the forefront of what you do.
Absolutely.
Other considerations, if that's the most important thing, what are some of the other considerations that you're going to weigh alongside it?
Right. I said in all aspects of life, right? Development in all aspects of life. That's one thing I look at. And another thing, which I believe should be the starting point, which you look at when you begin to recruited by schools, is the type of relationships you have with the coaches. You know, I look for genuine, real relationships because, you know, not everything in this world is real. People could look at you in the face and tell you that they love you, you know what I'm saying? But everybody that tells you they love you doesn't really love you, you know? So real relationships is what I look for. And another thing is I want to go to a school that have the opportunity to compete and work towards my goals with like-minded individuals. Because if you work with like-minded individuals, you know, they can push and challenge you to not only reach your goals, but to reach team glory, and that's a national championship. And that's what I look for. So,
you know, you said a lot there, and it's interesting because, you know, recruiting, the game is about, you know, it's about being a salesman. It's about pitching you, selling you a dream. So all of these guys are telling you what you want to hear, for so to speak. So how do you do that? You know, find out who is being real. How are you separating the real from the fake? You know, separating the real from the chaff, with the wheat from the chaff. When you know that everybody is telling you, you know, what you want to hear. Everybody's selling you a dream. How do you do that?
So God has gifted me with the ability of discernment, and when I talk to these coaches, I kind of have a feel of like what's fake and what's real, especially when you talk to them over long periods of time. You know, my family and I, we come together and we speak about certain coaches, like whether or not if they're telling me what is real or what is fake, you know, and, you know, we try to see what's genuine, like if they're genuinely recruiting me for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, over the test of time, eventually, you will reveal yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? So I get that. I get that. So with regard to Michigan, your impressions, and now that you've seen them a couple of times, your impressions of Michigan so far, what do you think of Michigan? What do you think of Coach Morgan specifically?
I think Michigan is great. You know, that M it has a lot of just power behind that M. You know, I love it here. You know, I think Coach Morgan is a great coach. You know, he knows what he's talking about, and he has a plan for me. You know, he sees me as not just a cornerback, but a defensive back that can move in different parts of the field in that backfield on the defense. So I believe in his plan that he has, and I also believe in Coach Mink's plan as well.
Yeah, man. So, you know, their scheme, because they do a lot on the back end.
Yeah.
You know, they are multiple with what they do. It's not just a team that's going to go out and play a lot of man like you see.
They like to disguise a lot.
And they disguise a whole lot. So what about that? Because that's, you know, you got some DBs who just look for, I want to play a lot of man. I've talked to a lot of guys like that. What about you? Is that something that is discouraging or encouraging to you as a DB?
Well, man is my favorite, you know, coverage, but I can play all types of coverages. And the thing I like about their defense is that they disguise and they play a lot of different types of coverages. So when it comes to, you know, playing man, when it comes to playing off man, playing zone, whatever it is, the case may be, you know, I will be comfortable playing that. Also, another thing that I like about the defensive scheme is that how versatile it is, you know, and I'm a versatile player, so it kind of goes hand in hand.
I got you. All right, so you watched their defense over the course of last year. It was really the turning point in their season. Specifically as it relates to last year, what did you think of last year's defense?
I thought last year's defense was great, you know. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was the thing that sort of kind of put Coach Wink as a college coach on the map, and then Coach Morgan as well. And then Coach Moore, it established him as, all right, this is his team, so what have your impressions of Coach Moore been?
Coach Moore has been great. You know, he came to my school like a week ago, and he's just a great guy to be around. I feel like he's a great leader and just a great role model for the players in the building.
Now, you mentioned Will Johnson. Have you been able to connect with him at all?
No, unfortunately. I've seen his dad before, though. I've spoken with his dad.
Okay. All right. So clearly they've identified you as one of their top guys. Have they talked to you about getting you back on campus or trying to get on your official visit list at all?
Yes, they want to get me back up in the spring.
So have you made that decision yet as to whether or not you're going to do it?
I would love to. I would love to be back in the spring.
Okay. All right. So
I just don't have a set time yet.
I got you. So you've been able to get your parents up now.
Mm-hmm.
What have their impressions of Michigan been?
Oh, their impressions are really good. They like it here. They see this as a potential fit.
Okay. All right. So I really like to highlight, as you go through this process, highlight the significance of your support base, your circle. Man, not just for what it means for recruiting, but what it means for you in your growth in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
How big has that been for you?
It's been very important. You know, my family is my team. You know, we discuss everything together and we make decisions as a team, and it's been very big.
So when in your final analysis, when you get ready to sit down
Mm-hmm.
and make your decision, how do you envision it going? Is it going to be one of those scenarios where it's like, hey, you guys are all sitting around the table and it's like a collaborative process, or is it one of those things where you sit down with your family, you have a discussion, they give you their input, and then it's me, myself, and I making the decision after they give you some input? How do you foresee that happening?
I see it as, you know, a decision we make collectively. You know, first and foremost, we're gonna pray about it, because that's how me and my family rock. Like, we pray about everything, any situation, any decision that we're going into. You know, first we put God in the middle of it first. But I see it as a collective decision where we're gonna weigh out the cons and the pros, and ultimately it's gonna come down to the decision for me whether I like the school and whether it's a good fit.
Do you see, because I can tell you tight, man, I can tell. Do you foresee a scenario where, man, can you, I know you talked about your factors and your faith, but, you know, faith and family, do you foresee a situation where the distance from your family can be far? There's another F. Can you be far away and
Yes.
it be okay?
Yes, it will definitely be okay. You know, they actually want to go to wherever college I go to.
Okay.
But you know, it wouldn't be a problem. No.
I got you.
You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So.
Hey, you know, one day you might be playing for the LA Rams or something like that. You know, it could work out that way in the grand scheme of things. Well, Jordan, it has been an absolute pleasure to see a young man, you know, or get to know a young man in this brief time.
The pleasure is all mine.
Highlight so many things that are valuable in the growth of not just an athlete, but a young man that is going to thrive in doing things beyond the playing field. And I can tell that about you. So appreciate you dropping by.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good luck on the field and good luck in the classroom, man.
Yes,
Keep
sir.
doing what you do.
Thank you.
Jordan Thomas. Another edition of the Michigan Recruiting Insider in the books. We'll see you next time.
Go Blue, baby.